Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking two areas for hail potential today. Very similar to what we saw yesterday. We have a cold front coming through. It's trying to stir up some storms. We'll see exactly what happens, but we do have two areas for hail today, one up to the north in places like Montana and South Dakota, and then another down to the south in the Four Corners. We've got two different things going on today. We've got that hot air that's sitting over the central portion of the U.S. and then that cold air that's farther off to the west. So we've got two areas that we're talking about temperature changes, and then hurricane season is ramping up. Are you guys ready for some named storms to come back into play here? We have not talked about the Atlantic, or at least any activity in the Atlantic, for quite some time. And thankfully, we are seeing an increase of potential cyclone formation. And we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. It looks like we do have some thunderstorms going on. I'm wondering if that is down, my assumption is that is down in the Four Corners, but I'm going to pull up my radar over here and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. In the meantime, let's talk about what's going on today. We've got that low pressure system that's sitting over North Dakota and South Dakota at the moment. And then we've got some disturbances that are going all the way down to the Four Corners. And this is what's going to help to produce those storms today. We've got one area of storms up to the north and then another down to the south, and this line of storms that you can see ongoing right now. And I haven't seen, but that is my assumption of where the severe activity is. Actually, you know what? We just got a report of $half size hail just north of St. Cloud, Minnesota. So we'll have to take a look at that here in just a few minutes. Alrighty, pretty clear across the southern portion of the U.S. We've got those storms ongoing in Minnesota right now. That's where your severe thunderstorm warning is, and that's producing some hail at the moment. Temperatures are in the upper 70s in this area and then 80s as you go farther to the south. So I talked about that temperature divide, right? Warmer in the south, cooler out to the west. Yesterday, we saw some hail, not as much as I expected. I expected to see more hail yesterday. We got a 2-inch report, so we did verify with egg-sized hail yesterday. We got some hail down in Colorado and then in the southern portion of Colorado as well. And then we highlighted an area yesterday in South Dakota that we really expected that hail to happen. And obviously we got several hail reports in that area as well. This is what's ongoing right now. Do you see that right there? We've got several hail reports in Minnesota right now. That is $half size hail. Just reported a few minutes ago. Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a look at your significant hail model. Now, we really didn't expect a ton of hail in Minnesota today, so we won't talk too much about that. What we really expected was more of a North and South Dakota hailstorm, and then we've got several areas down in the Four Corners that could see some hail as well. So those are our two areas that we're talking about today. Let's go ahead and talk about your largest hail size. I would go 2-inch. That's what we got yesterday. It's a similar setup today. I'm going to go 2-inch size hail for today as well. Where are we talking about that? Well, I mentioned that we have a marginal risk in central Minnesota. We've got another marginal risk that goes all the way into Montana, North and South Dakota, and then we've got that slight risk there highlighted in yellow. Very similar farther down to the south. In the Four Corners, those are two areas for storms today, especially later on today. Let's go ahead and talk about timeline here. 5 to 10 o'clock tonight is whenever we expect those storms to be a little bit more impressive in North and South Dakota, and then you go all the way down to the south. Any time between now and 10 o'clock this evening, we're expecting ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings in the Four Corners. So including not just the Four Corners right here, but all the way up into Colorado and then all the way down to the border. So we've got several rounds of storms today. Let's go ahead and break that down for you. For your hail risk today, small hail possible anywhere from the central portion of Minnesota all the way into the Dakotas. Let's put some cities on the map here and tell you that most likely area to be hit. I would once again highlight the central to western portion of South Dakota, and then all of these, where the states kind of line up right here. This is the area that I would pinpoint for the most likely places to get hail today. And then of course we've got that low chance for smaller hail as you go farther down to the south. Wind, a very similar setup as well. I am expecting many wind reports today. 60 to 70 mile-per-hour wind speeds are absolutely possible through many of our states. So if you see storms today, there's a likelihood for strong wind speeds. Your tornado risk, not very impressive today. No significant tornado risk on the docket this afternoon. Let's talk about timeline, your future radar here. Highlighted there in red, we have outlined these areas that we are tracking for storms today. And then I've talked about the hazards on the side of the screen over here. We're talking about 2-inch size hail or smaller today. Still pretty impressive. We could get some golf ball size hail in this area. High winds, I put it at a 40% chance for today, and then that flooding will stay mostly isolated. Actually, where I'm watching for the flooding potential today is going to be farther down to the south in the Four Corners, and in southern Colorado. Gotta keep an eye on that flooding potential today. We've got an area that's just going to see rain all day long, and we've got a level 2 flood risk for this area. So I would actually change that from isolated and call this more of a scattered flood risk today. And you can kind of see that we've got this area, this line of storms that just sits over the same spot all day long and finally clears out later on tonight and into early tomorrow morning. Here's a look at your flood risk. Since we were talking about it, I wanted to show it to you. A level 2 flood risk. They're highlighted in yellow, not only in Colorado to New Mexico, but also in South Dakota for the storms that are not only happening this evening, but also through the overnight hours. We've got 2 rounds of storms there. That flood risk tracks a little bit farther to the east as we head into Saturday, into Oklahoma and Texas, and then into the northern plains on Sunday. So here's a breakdown of your severe risks today. I kind of flew through the severe risk potential, so let me know if you want to go back and talk about a certain city or not. Thursday, oh, Thursday? No, it's Friday. I didn't update my days here. All right, there's Saturday, and then there's Sunday. I'm a day behind, apparently. I don't want to take your Friday away from you. It's finally Friday. It's not Thursday. We're just gearing up for the weekend, right? Yesterday, I told you that out in the Pacific, we had a chance to see a named storm just within the next few hours, and that's exactly what happened. Mario is our newest named storm in the Pacific, and it's just off the coast of Mexico right now. A tropical storm at the moment. As this continues to track up to the north and west throughout the weekend, we'll have to see what it does. You know, does this strengthen? Does it stay a tropical storm? But Mario is that next named storm. And then the Atlantic, finally, we've got some activity. Let's see it. We have a 40% chance for tropical activity over the next 7 days. So this weekend, we are not expecting any significant tropical activity. But by the middle or early portion of next week, we are expecting a lot more activity in the Atlantic. Now, John, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to give you a minute to think about this. John's our producer today. He's not a meteorologist, but we have said over the last few broadcasts the day that we think we're going to get our next named storm. I said the 19th. Heather said the 20th. Joey went later in September. I think he said like the 24th. What's your bet on the day that we're going to get our next named storm? He's thinking.
I'm going to say
the 22nd. Okay, I like it. We're covering all of our bases here. Okay, let us know whenever you think we're going to get the next named storm in the Atlantic. I'm curious to see what people have to say, because what we talked about just a few days ago is we talked about, and I think I have a graphic for it right here. Let's see it. Come on, graphics. There you go. I said, okay, after the 15th. I said after the 15th, the Atlantic is going to be a lot more active. And we're starting to see that come into play, right? We're starting to see the first few areas that are disturbance right now. We're seeing a 40% chance for tropical cyclone activity in the next 7 days. So it's looking like the 19th, the 20th, the 22nd, like John mentioned, are really good bets for tropical activity. Whenever we finally do get that next named storm in the Atlantic, that'll be Gabrielle. That's our next named storm. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about our headlines for the tropics here. We talked about this the last few days. We said it's quiet right now, and it'll stay quiet. This is usually the most active time of year, but it's going to stay quiet for a little bit. No hurricanes until at least September 15th, and we made that bold prediction several days ago, and I'm still sticking to that. I said, but get ready, because we are likely to see more activity as we head into the end of September. This is not rare. This has happened before. Do you remember 2022, whenever we had just a few named storms until the middle of September, and then it's like the light switch just flipped on and it was on. It was like we had storm after storm after storm. And even last year was pretty similar to that as well. If you look at 2024 season, we only had 5 named storms by this point in the season. And then it felt like after the middle of September, it was just storm after storm after storm after storm after storm. And we got all the way down to Sarah last year. So that's possible again this year. the end of September, early October, I think we're going to really start to see those numbers go up for named storms. Our average season would be about 14 named storms, about half of those turning into hurricanes. Last year, we were a bit above average, and we're expecting to be right about average, if not a little bit above average once again this year as well. So HailTrace, we made those predictions back in January of this year, and we're sticking to it. We're sticking to those bold predictions there. We are at what would normally be the busiest time of year for hurricanes. Obviously, it's not very busy right now, but I do think as we get into the end of September and early October, we'll see a lot more activity. Alrighty, moving on here, let's talk about our tropical cyclone names. Gabrielle, as I mentioned, is the next on the list. We've got Humberto after that, Imelda following, and then Jerry and Karen to be our middle season, or maybe early October, middle of October named storms. Another headline that we had today for the weather was that we're going to see much warmer temperatures in the central to eastern portion of the U.S., and we're going to kind of divide the U.S., and there's going to be cooler air farther out to the west. And that trend is going to continue as we head into the weekend. So if you're wondering about your weekend temperatures, it's going to be a lot cooler out to the west and a lot warmer through the central portion of the U.S. We're actually talking about 80s and 90s in these areas, about 10 to 20 degrees above average. So if your average this time of the year is 85, you have a really good chance to be in the 90s. Don't put away those t-shirts and tank tops quite yet. It's not going to be jacket weather this weekend. We've got a high pressure system, a little ridge that's trying to set in here. It's not very strong, but it's just strong enough to get some clear skies and warm temperatures. We're talking about the 90s on Saturday, 94 in KC, 95 in St. Louis, 95 in Memphis as well. Sunday, just as warm across the U.S. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very warm weekend, and it's going to stay like that for quite some time. We have a good chance for warm temperatures to continue all the way through the third week of this month. We're talking about the 17th through the 21st here. Temperatures are likely to be above average as we head into the end of September. It's kind of like summer's revenge. August was cool, but September is going to be hot. We also have a good chance for this moisture to continue. I'm wondering about our second severe weather season here. This is a conversation I've had with a lot of people here lately. You know, we got those cooler temperatures in August, and I think that kind of tampered with that potential for our second severe weather season. Oftentimes this time of the year, we'll get those tornado risks, those hail and high wind risks as well, and we just have not seen that over the last few weeks. So I'm wondering if this warmer and wet weather that we're expecting to have as we head into the end of September is going to bring us back into that second severe weather season. That'll definitely be something to watch. And of course, we'll be watching it. We'll be posting about it as well. We'll be posting about it on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok pages. So if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245. We can get you set up with a subscription. Or email us at info@hailtrace.com or head over to our website, hailtrace.com. Before I head out, I want to take another look at our severe thunderstorm warnings across the U.S. right now. Grand Junction, Colorado. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in this area and some, looks like flood warnings as well. Let's see, what is this warned for? Quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. Yeah, those storms in Colorado I'm not too impressed with, but these storms in Minnesota I'm a little bit more impressed with. So we'll see what happens today. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Your forecast was pretty short and simple. We'll see you back here, same time, same place for your forecast on Monday.